Good evening, everybody, and welcome to day number 4 of Contenders Trials for EMEA. I'm Big Hungry Phil, and with me to bring you today's action is Lafon. Lafon, welcome to the broadcast. What have we got to look forward to today?
Well, we have some good old Overwatch, as that is, I think, the expectation you should have tuning into this stream as we get set to go with nearly the end of the week, Phil, here of Contenders Trials. Man, time has gone by pretty quickly. And up first, we have Samsung Morningstars versus Sheer Cold.
Time really does move quickly when you're having fun, and if you're watching Tier 2, of course, you will be having fun. This matchup, though, Lafon, I think there's a team for who this is potentially a lot of fun, and a team for who this might be a little bit of a grind. Sheer Cold, real titans of trials, maybe not quite the performance we expect when we hit Contenders. I'm always going to do this. Samsung Morningstars, on the other hand, currently sat at 0 wins in this period of trials. So they've got a lot of heavy lifting to do if they want to put a win on the board.
Right, and this is really, as always with the end of trials, a lot of the matches we get are teams trying to solidify their positioning and then teams trying to play spoiler, and that's exactly what we have right here, as we kind of say. Sheer Cold would very much like the win up against Samsung Morningstars. Now you have me saying it too. Up against Samsung Morningstars because, you know, they're not quite solidified in their positioning yet, and having to lock in today would be much, much preferable than tomorrow. So, and especially against a struggling Morningstars roster, you know, that's ideally where they want to get those wins to come in. For Samsung Morningstars, this game may not mean much for them in terms of their positioning in Contenders, as they're 0-3, so they're kind of out of it at this point. But, you know, proving that you belong in trials and you don't have to make that run through all the way back is a huge part of their matchup here. So credit to you know, if Samsung Morningstars, I think we're going to definitely try and play spoiler up against Sheer Cold here today.
I'm thinking back to a couple of seasons ago for Contenders Trials where we had Samsung Morningstars with kind of an unknown roster, and these players have become that little bit more known by dint of being in trials again and again and again. Yeah. But it took them a long time through trials to really find a comfort zone. I remember having an interview with, apologies, I forget the exact player, but a player from Morningstars to say, all right, guys, we've been looking at this and saying this should have been a loss for you, but you absolutely stormed through that map. What changed? And it was that they were finally comfortable. They'd finally figured out what their game plan was, what their game style was. And it would be great to come into this match and see Samsung Morningstars finally actually hit that groove again. But it's not the team to be playing to really give you the opportunity to find that groove, I don't think.
No, and I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's a fair thing to say. But I would also highlight that Samsung Morningstars has some very young players on their roster. Fake Lion, just 14 years old, according to the documentation we have here. So I would say that, you know, coming into this for Samsung Morningstars, it's not necessarily about making Contenders right now because you're out. It's about consistency and growth as a team and as players. Again, this path to pro does not end in Contenders, right? You don't make Contenders and all of a sudden, wow, congratulations, you made it. No, the end goal is Overwatch League. So the grind starts here in trials. You make your way to Contenders, you prove yourself at that level, and hopefully get picked up, you know, for the big leagues. And I'd say, you know, if you're the players on Samsung Morningstars, if you're the staff there, the goal here is about improving as a squad, improving as individuals, and then making it past, you know, that slump, so to speak. So right now, this season of Contenders is out of the cards for them. It's now about executing on the remaining stages of that personal growth that I highlighted. And for Sheer Cold, you know, the opposite is definitely true. Your path is still continuing and still has room to grow in this particular month. And as a result, I think execution early on is definitely going to be the name of their game in this series. And of course, you know, Phil, talking about the game, we have to segue directly into meta, and starting off on Nepal, there's a lot we can talk about here.
Yeah, I was getting ready to cue you up into that one, but you've beaten me to the punch. We're still seeing some kind of wacky stuff. Maybe that if you'd spoken to us a couple of weeks ago, we'd have said, why is anybody aside from Avoided running that tank line? We have seen a little bit of Roadhog, we're seeing some Zarya, we're seeing some Dive. What are we expecting, Lafon, from specifically Sheer Cold and Morningstars?
I mean, from Sheer Cold, we've gotten a little bit of game tape from them over the last couple of days. We've seen a lot of Roadhog from them being played out. They do have a Wrecking Ball that they play sometimes, and then they've also thrown a Sigma, a Diva. You know, they haven't really played a ton of Dive in electing to go for that more, you know, static, or should I say, pick-based composition, right, revolving around the Roadhog's hook. I will say, though, that evolving over the last couple of regions, over the last couple of days, has been sort of a rotating meta depending on maps. And looking both EU and NA, some of the teams have been running dive, have been running sort of that Winston Zarya that has some potential at really putting pressure on backlines and keeping, the Winstons alive for quite some time. But we've also seen some true dive in the Winston Diva matchup as well. So I would say very much it depends on the map. If you can get a map where Roadhog can roam and really get to those backlines unaffected, by a Sombra, by an Ana, then all of a sudden, the Roadhog becomes a little bit more viable, and you may end up seeing a lot more of him as time goes on. Now, on these maps that more favor rotation and high ground, Roadhog becomes a little less effective, and so we may end up seeing more dive in those situations. And I think, for the first time in a very long time, we're seeing a revolving hero selection, especially the tank role, depending on the map and style that you're both playing and playing against. And that's going to be a really interesting thing to keep a note of as we head through the stream today. So not just this match, but every match from here on out. And of course, with Overwatch League's playoffs starting this weekend, something to keep an eye out for there as well.
I can't help but notice that 2 tanks are definitely not in the list of options we're likely to be seeing today. Reinhardt and Orisa, our big sturdy main tank, shield tank kind of guys, not having a great time at the minute if you're a main tank player, which is going to be a little disappointing if you're a Reinhardt specialist.
Sure. That being said, I've seen some teams run Orisa Roadhog and get value out of it, and avoided probably the one that stepped, I think, Mini-Me making that role coming through. But also, I saw a little bit of Reinhardt Diva getting played. Now, I'm not personally a fan of the Reinhardt Diva. I don't think it really achieves much. It gets zoned out way too easily, at least in the current patch. But, that is an element that could possibly work through. That being said, I highlighted Shade and Alex in terms of what they like to run here. So no surprises. We get set on Nepal Village as our starting ground. It looks like Roadhog Zarya to start off your evening.
Yeah, Roadhog Zarya with a really unusual kind of mirror matchup here. Looks like we might be getting a little bit of a difference here in Akaya and Lusa coming out on the BAP and the Ana respectively. And, also a change in the DPS. Backbone on the Reaper, Kookabow over on the Tracer. Let's see how this works out for them. Going to be starting with Graffin, trying to spam that right-hand entrance. Will find the pick. Explorer's going to go down with a bit of help there from Backbone. Immortality down as well. And they're doing a good job here covering the body, so there's no chance for Morningstars to get in and actually get the res off. Going to see them slowly rotate to point with Backbone on the high ground. Spots the pig. He's a tasty target, and that's Fake Lion down. Big man advantage now for Sheer Cold, and that's likely to be the cap.
Yeah, a lot of this comes down to the fact that Samsung Morningstars can't brawl in close, right? Because they have to play up against Reaper, and Reaper is just better at it. More survivable, more tanky in that close range engagement. So he's able to play a little bit more aggressively. Kookabow has to play a little bit more passively, right on the trace, has to poke from range. And that means that a lot more damage can be focused onto the Pharah in the sky. So Shikari not really as effective at that range. Graffin, zoning out pretty well. Coming into this next engagement, though, here comes the barrage is available. Kaya down early is not going to help things.
No, that's really, really unfortunate. But they have actually invested the nano boost onto Graffin. Graffin didn't really find too much with that. Barrage came out there as well from Shikari. Did get it very quickly, but may have been a little bit quick on pulling the trigger on that one, LaFon.
Yeah, it felt like a rush play that, Samsung Morningstars was like, we have to get something done here, so let's force a fight despite being down a player. Akaya on the Baptiste, and I don't necessarily like this pick. It's not really finding much value here in terms of the healing potential, and Nano Boost is a really good ability. So, we're going to have to see if they can get value out of the Baptiste. Amplification Matrix coming online. No.
That's really fortunate, but the trade does come through. Shikari's going to take Lusa out of the equation. Shade has the whole hog ready to go, and it's hog into hog. Pulse Bomb comes out there as well, and it's Shade that's down first. The rest come back through in from Rep to bring Lusa back in the fight, and now Fake Lion down on the low ground, looking for hooks. Instead, going to receive that rocket to the face and be taken out of the fight. Grav comes out, locks up Kookabow and Adnar, but I don't know that I like that as a play, LaFon. I might have wanted to keep that.
Yeah, this is actually, it's buying enough time that they were able to get the kill on Akaya yet again. And with no support, really available in this next fight, the point hasn't ticked over yet either. Sheercold may just be in a really good position to close this round out.
They are losing players, but their Morningstar's not really doing enough to capitalize on it. And see, they got another pick right at the end of the round, but it just feels like the communication wasn't there. Like they didn't know where the picks were and what was happening.
Yeah, that's not ideal. I mean, we can call that what that one was. That was a letter number. You need to touch point when you're up 2 in that fight. Samsung Morning Stars, maybe they didn't drink their coffee in round 1. We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I mean, it's also, late where they are, but coffee isn't any time of the day drink, in my opinion. Hopefully they'll get some of theirs as they head into round 2, and I need a little bit more urgency from Samsung Morning Stars. That was not ideal.
No, it did feel very halting, very stuttering, but with one map under their belt and a big change up in what they're going to be running here, maybe we'll see them find something a little more potent this time around. However, from sheer cold, also a little bit of a swap up, still keeping Grathan on that Pharaoh for now, and just out of nowhere finds the early pick onto Kukabao. Fake Lion being pressured now from a couple of different angles. Trying to make the rotation in to try and deal with Lusa on the high ground, but takes so much damage on the way in that there's just nothing he can do about it. And with the main tank down, the rest of Morningstar's just going to crumble around him.
Right, and that was the look that I said, you may end up seeing, is this Winston Zarya. It does require an execution of timing, and Sheer Cold has been playing so much faster that they didn't, Fake Line was unable to get into position to really get value. So there's going to be some switches up here. Shikari going to go over to the Echo, and it's going to be so hard to get in, though, man. I don't see this Echo needs to find a lot more value and has to dodge the hook with less mobility and range than Afara really does in this particular situation.
At the very least, looking just at the ult charge, but then Shikari is finding chip damage here and there, so doing a pretty good job of farming the ult up. But even once you've got that ult online, it's going to be tricky to find the right ult in the right place to pup it. And Adnar gets caught out again, didn't have the Guardian Angel, gets focused down. There's a lob in from the back line, from Backbone with a pulse bomb, doesn't find too much. Instead, rotates around and gets the line onto Kukabao. Also has the line onto Hukaya, who is now over on the Ana, and Akaya once more too slow to move out of the way. Even with Shikari getting a pick there, it's just not enough, Lafon.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's not just about getting picks, though, right? Because if you're trading picks back and forth, eventually it's going to favor the team that has control of the objective, because you're still building percentage. So what's happening here is that Shikari's not that was a nice clear enough by Kukabao, comes in clean. Shikari's just not putting enough consistent pressure on the back line. Good res.
There was a good res, but Kukabao did get the Pulse Bomber out and take Riffin out of the equation on that one. And Shikari comes in, Shikari comes in with a whole hog, takes out Shade. Alex is going to go down here as well, and for the first time in our matchup so far today, it's a big numbers advantage for Morningstars, and they've got the presence on the point to start to make this turn in their favor, and they're finally getting some points on the board.
That was a 40% fight, though, right? That was a fight that was at 40% when it started, and, the long-standing contest from Sheer Cold keeps that in their objective. Oh, Kyo just misses that kill, actually.
Yeah,
turns left instead of going right.
It does pay to be an ambi-turner in Overwatch, certainly. A really weird place for that fight to be going on, but running into this next fight, it is ult advantage in a big way here for Sheer Cold. A couple of picks from Grathan using the barrage is likely to be what opens this up. You can see him angling here. Wants to get another couple of rockets in on Shikari, will find the pick, can camp the body now, and Akaya's down to the pulse bomb. It's a two-man advantage. Adnar will pop the Valkyrie. He's going to use that to bring Akaya back in. And Kukabao overstays his welcome once more, receives another direct rocket, and Morningstars, despite having got a respectable 40% on the point here, look like they are about to give it over once more. Sheer Cold just rubber band back in and knock Morningstars off the point.
Much cleaner retake from Sheer Cold, and it starts with a pick, snowballs in. Grathan over the top does a great job of zoning out with the direct rockets. So now Sheer Cold are in last fight, and you're looking for a hero to contest at this point here from Samsung Morningstars. Who's going to be the sacrifice on the objective?
Kukabao in position here to tag back in, does take a lot of damage on the way in, whiffs the pulse bomb. Adnar can't tag back in on the Lucio. The whole hog puts paid to those ambition. Grathan with the conk blast in to find Akaya. As the barrage, going to have to dodge that mech first, and it will find one, but it's only one. It's at the back end of the fight, and the grab barrage puts paid to Fake Lion here as well. Kukabao, the valiant attempt to keep that going, but this is probably as far as this one's going for Morningstars.
Yeah, that's going to be it for map number 1. Sheer Cold takes map number 1, takes Nepal as we head into the later stages of this series. And remember, first to 3, so still a ways to go. We still have some time here if you're a Samsung Morningstars fan for them to come in and perhaps perform. But certainly in map number 1, all sheer cold, as realistically speaking, Samsung Morningstars, it at times felt like they were trying to force the issue, unable to get value out of their picks, and both literally and figuratively as they head in, and sheer cold in domination of that match in its entirety.
Yeah, and running this slightly wonky main tankless tank line of the Roadhog Zarya for the majority of that as well, finding a huge amount of value. It's clear that Shade and Alex between them have got so much synergy as a tank line. It's really, really great to see, and it's one of these things that I think is just lacking a little bit from Morningstars at the minute. They just seem to not quite have like that in-depth knowledge of where their partners are going to be on the field.
Yeah, we are going to head into map number 2, and it's going to be Assault. So Volskaya Industries is up next. And I want to, there's something here that I have to complain about a little bit, just in terms of the meta. This is the first time I personally have seen a main tankless meta, right? In terms of what we have brought to the table. There have been more metas with 3 tanks than there have been metas with no main tanks.
True.
If you could think about it that way, right? So the fact of the matter is, right now, a lot of the fights come down to who gets that first pick off. And a lot of the times it is the Roadhog who's kind of playing a roamer style of game. And what we kind of bring forward here, or what the expectations are for me, is that if a Roadhog can really plays an aggressive angle and gets away from the anti-nade or the sleep dart, then they can get a lot of value in these early fights. As I highlighted earlier, Volskaya Industries is our second map. You can see that on the screen. Nepal going the way of sheer cold, so it is 1-0 for the team in green here. But I think that's something to keep an eye on, is if you're going to play this Roadhog composition, FakeLine needs to find a couple more of these hooks to keep Samsung Morningstars in the discussion in this matchup between sheer cold and Samsung Morningstars.
And I think you touched upon something particularly interesting around the state of the meta, in that if you are going to be playing the Roadhog, you have to avoid the enemy Ana, because pretty much everything Ana does shuts you down and punishes you in such a hard and fast way that if you are playing in any way in line of sight of the Ana, you are probably playing the Roadhog wrong here. And he does need to be that roaming sixth man, playing away from the rest of the team to really find value. As we move over into Volskaya, as we're now live there, we will be seeing Morningstars taking up the defense first here. Sheer Cold coming in on the offense. And this is an interesting wrong. Shikari coming in on the Soldier 76, Lafon.
I mean, you could roam around that high ground, get pressure on the back line, and if you're good at Soldier, get some sort of value. I mean, it's tough to really make this one stick, so we'll see how he performs. But certainly, Soldier not necessarily the most effective hit scan DPS we've seen recently.
It's been a while since there was a Soldier meta. Let's just put it that way, huh?
The last time it was when 3 tanks were still viable.
Yeah, that's a long, long time ago in the dim and distant past of Overwatch. I like this from Alex, actually. Alex is quite happy just to sit here and take a bit of flak damage, because it's going to help Lucer get that charge that bit quicker.
Oh my god, Explorer.
Where is Explorer?
His HP went down to literally 1.
How was he stood in such a close proximity to somebody finding the pick? Shikari is finding a lot of value here, finding a lot of damage, but that's all going to be healed right back up again by Shade, and he's given over high ground control here. The one thing you almost certainly want to have as a Soldier 76. Look about, falling low, in trouble, looking to get out. Doesn't have the recall, running low on blinks, will get out just, but still has to go toe-to-toe with Alex. Now needs to dodge the hook. Putting in a lot of pressure, will now just about have that pulse bomb ready to go. It's a big opener, but it's got to hit the right target. It's got to take out a support, and Adnar is down. Kookaburra has to come in with the equalizer now, but it's too slow. Kookaburra is down here. It's Kraken with a boost on the high ground that is opening things up here for Sheer Cold, and it's unlikely that Morningstar is going to be able to drag this one back without a couple of picks in the next couple of seconds.
Those picks are just not coming through. Grafton has control up here. And even with Backbone going down, that's not going to be enough to reestablish point presence for Samsung Morningstars.
No, there's too big a numbers advantage here for Sheer Cold. There are players for Morning Stars still alive, but they're not in a position to contest in a meaningful way. That was a great dodge on the pulse ball on the right-hand side from Rethard, and Graffen dodged either way round the side of that and stopped that finding any value. And there's not even the recontest coming in here from Morning Stars Lathon.
Yeah, this is. I mean, Cuba looking to perhaps get a pick off here, but I mean, now he's past the amount of time where if he dies, you know, he's going to have that full 10-second respawn timer, so definitely have to be careful at his re-entry.
Alex is about to close in on Have the Minefield. In fact, now has it live. Needs to be careful where he puts that. Doesn't want to get interrupted in the animation. Don't want to lose that valuable space control ultimate here. In over the top, stuffs up the high ground. Makes it difficult for the sports to get in and keep the rest of the team alive. Shade's going to have a power nap, and I mean that in the most literal sense possible, in the middle of the map. And that's already 2 ticks gained here for Sheer Cold. Morning Stars not in a position to recontest, and that is a staggering time bank, Lathon.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes. And it really felt that Sheer Cold just in control, man. I like a tough place to be if you're Samsung Morning Stars. I mean, compositionally just outclassed there. The Soldier has to play so much more passively than, you know, perhaps the Ashe doesn't have the one-shot potential. Even the damage they do is worn out. And the ultimate, it's, you know, at the pro level, Tactical Visor is cool, but all it does is make you hit body shots consistently. So not a lot of utility in the ult bank. So Graffen on the Ashe just outranges you.
There was a time, I'm thinking to Hanamura in particular, where one of the easy ways to actually take that second point was with the nano-boosted Soldier ultimate, setting that up on the backline where the rest of the team takes the point. But this isn't Hanamura, and this isn't 2019 anymore. This isn't 2018. It's so much harder to find value with the Soldier 76 here, and I feel like this was Morning Stars setting themselves up here for an early failure. Sheer Cold just had such a strong compositional advantage.
The one thing that Soldier does allow you to do is the mobility, right? You can run around that high ground and kind of get value if you're going back and forth. But that also relies on your team staying alive. And with no one putting pressure on the front line, on the enemy front line, it allows them to just walk in uncontested, unscathed. And so your own tank line takes a lot more pressure. So just across the board, an odd place to be if you're, you know, if you are Samsung Morning Stars. Backbone Scouts will get out, but dive is being shown here.
Ooh.
Pseudo dive.
Yeah. Shikari taking a nap. Ooh, sleep onto Graffen, but no real follow-up damage there. Has a nice line through onto Morning Stars, but we've pressured out for now. But easy to make this rotation and continue to be a threat on the Widowmaker. Now knows there is at the very least a Soldier 76 in that room at the far edge of the map. We won't find the pick just yet. Bubble comes out to allow the rest of Morning Stars to make the rotation onto the higher ground here. There is a dive available for Morning Stars. They're going to be looking to try and take out Graffen and Lusa if they can manage it, but they've got to do that without losing a player first.
Now that they're in on the high ground close, though, this is actually a little bit better for Shikari as he steps in, and that's going to allow Fake Line to get pressure on the back line. So this is a really good position for Samsung Morning Stars to be in as they start to build pressure on the objective.
It is, but I do feel a little bit badly for Fake Line, who's having to go into this 1v3 on the high ground with only the Zarya bubble to really help him out there. They are going to take a tick, though. Sheer Cold, a little bit slow to get the free contest on the point out, and so in a position here where they may actually lose point A just as quickly as Morning Stars did. It's only Alex left to try and contest.
Yeah, so again, it's all about that pressure coming in, and though the self-destruct is going to be committed, it's not going to be enough to shut down. Again, it's really all about getting to the high ground, getting area to get pressure, right? And buying time to, you know, poke the tanks down. Shade does not get a pick off with the hook, and that's what the Roadhog brings a lot of value with. You know, doesn't have a lot of, yes, self-sustain, but doesn't have a lot of team utility. If you're not getting those pickoffs, the fight will start to, you know, trend towards your opposition. Shade just unable to get through there. That hook, good. Fake Lion stays alive.
And here it is! The nano-boosted tactical visor. We are back in time and looking for value, but everybody does such a good job of making themselves scarce here from Sheer Cold, and that's 2 ultimates thrown into some body damage that you're not even getting ult charge for. And what an 8! Alex with a big predict on the DM. takes that out of the equation, and it's a nice big push back here from Sheer Cold. It was almost so good for Morning Stars, but now they've got to take another stab at this with basically nothing left to work with, LaFon.
Yeah, that was everything except the Primal committed to that fight. I mean, Tactical Visor with the Nano Boost, that's 2 ultimates that are denied with the advanced tactic of hiding behind a wall. So, I mean, the thought process, I'm being facetious there. The thought process obviously is, even if it doesn't get kills, it pressures out enough that you can get to the objective and take percentage there. But as clearly evident, some good tagging in from the tanks to make sure that didn't happen. Now, you know, not much available to the defense. The Bob will be online here in a moment. So, I mean, if the Bob does not find value, it can sort of avoid that distance. Then you're looking for those one-shots yet again to get in.
Dive comes in, but a nice blast with the coach gun stops it connecting in a meaningful way. Instead, Fake Lion looking to get the rotation and try and get the environmental kill onto Shade, but is going to have to give that up. And all the Primal Rage went in about 4 or 5 different directions and couldn't find the sort of kill that he was really looking for here. Adnar's going to start things off here, though, as Shade's going to fall down, and Shikari has another Tactical Visor, but once more, it doesn't find its target, even with that auto-lock on ability. Still starting to see some picks come through here from Morning Stars, but it's not been quick enough. The defender's advantage is so strong on this point that Sheer Cold are almost guaranteed to get back in and keep this contest going. Morning Stars have at least managed 2 ticks capped here before they've given it up, so they're not out of the game just yet.
No, that was again, good positioning that allows the rebound from the pressure that comes in. And yes, it gives up 2 ticks, but better 2 ticks than the entire point, right? So a good recovery there from Sheer Cold to keep this fight going in, you know, keep the point eking out time here, as already at a time bank disadvantage is Samsung Morning Stars. Now looking at this next fight, the Nano Boost is available for Akaya. You're going to have the Graviton Surge online. Explorer hoping to get this one past. I mean, no one to deny it, actually, so it's just going to land. They're hoping for the combo here with the Nano Grab.
Certainly what they're going to be looking for. Backbone coming in, has the Death Blossom, has the Nano Boost, finds 1 pick, but Explorer gets a Nano of their own, and we're going to focus down Backbone, but there aren't any other kills coming the way of Morning Stars, and it means that Nano Boost doesn't find much except for keeping Explorer alive for a few more seconds. And now we've got just over 2 minutes on the clock.
I don't get the thought process behind that Nano Boost, right? It's Fake Lion already died by that point, right? So you're not going to get value. You see a Nano Boosted Reaper coming, like literally exactly saying what they're going to do. You don't fade into an entire team with the Nano Boost up and not expect you know, the Death Blossom to come in. So the Nano Boost was used to perhaps keep the energy alive, but Explorer stayed in. So I don't know, just a strange fight from Samsung Morning Stars, and now they've got very little to close out this. They're gonna have the Graviton Surge, but it needs to capture 3 if they want anything here.
Shikari doing such a good job of getting these Tactical Visors so quickly, but struggling so much to find any value with them. We'll see Shikari locked up by the Graviton Surge and taken out. It's a 5v6 now. And if you're Samsung Morning Stars, you don't want to be taking that with a man down. Shikari's going to get rezzed, but the rest of the team not really there to keep them going in the fights.
Yeah, I mean, this fight's over. It's two kills from Alex. It's 3 technically. Shikari got resurrected, and so this is the end. And you need to full reset here if you're Samsung Morning Stars. You have exactly 1 fight left here. With time, if you want to get time on the time bank. Yes, only 1/3 remains, but you need time in the time bank if you want a second chance at this point. A good start as Graphin gets taken down. Is Graphin going to go for the res? Yeah, they're going to go for the res, an aggressive res here on Graphin.
Yeah, so Graphin also takes a lot of damage whilst coming out of that res animation as well. And now it's the Primal Nano Boost. So a lot of damage on the ground here from Fake Lion, but he's going to sleep through almost all of that. That was such a good play from Akaya. A quick 1-2, including a kill with the sleep dart there from Akaya. And they might just have enough to do it here. 20 seconds left to go on the clock. If they can just keep what's left of Sheer Cold off the point, they might get the cap here. But Fake Lion's going to go down, overstays his welcome over towards the enemy spawn, and it's bought time for Sheer Cold to get back in and keep this contest going. And we are going to see this very quickly dip into overtime.
No, this map is over. Even with 2 seconds remaining, they're going to get contested. It's 4.5 minutes to get 1 tick, even if they give the point, and that's not even likely at this point either.
Oh, we'll see Fake Lion just manage to tag in time. They're going to be relying on a hero play from a pulse bomb here. We'll find Alex, but it's got to do a little more than that to Backbone. backbone. What was that Death Blossom? Kookaburra was able to find second. Would really have maybe liked a little more out of that Death Blossom. Instead, he's going to be coming out of that with not a lot left to show. Rapid reses Alex back into the fight, and amazingly, against all odds, Morningstars are keeping this going, and now there's a nano-boosted Tracer on the field, but it is a nano-boosted Tracer and a Wrecking Ball against the entirety of Sheer Cold, and it's going to be a shutout, just shy of getting all 3 points here for Morningstars.
Yeah, I mean, let's not mince words there. That map was over, even if they had gotten that second point capture, right? 4.5 minutes. You know, making the assumption that they had to retake. It's a tough place to be, and if you're Samsung Morningstars, you have to reset for map number 3 because you're up against match point at this point. Certainly, as Sheer Cold, I mean, there were times where I thought that Samsung Morningstars had advantage, but then just threw it away. I don't like that. That nano boost onto Explorer was definitely the one where I was most confused. I understand the thought process behind, you know, using the nano boost on the Zarya. I just don't understand at that particular moment in time when you're down 2 and a very aggressive Reaper's coming in nano boosted. So certainly a selection of choices from Samsung Morningstars to put them where they're at now. And I would say the opposite are required if they want a chance at a reverse sweep here in Contenders Trials, EMEA.
And I do feel like specifically plays like nano boosting Explorer, whilst yes, he has high charge, but so much of the rest of your team are down and out, comes back to a little bit of what we saw in Nepal, where it just seems like Morningstars are not all on the same page as a team. Like maybe there's some breakdown in communication is what it feels like to me, because you don't get to be in Contenders Trials by being, you know, washed up players. Like you've got to be a pretty good player to get to this level. So mechanically, these guys absolutely have the chops to be up here competing at this level, and I just feel like they need just a little more work on that teamwork.
Right, and I to be very clear, I think that there is, you know, if you get to Contenders Trials and above, you are definitely mechanically excellent. There's no question about that, and I don't have any questions about the mechanical gameplay from Samsung Morningstars. I saw some really great stuff, right? Fake Lion on point A, doing a great job of just kiting aggro from 3-4 players, allowing them to unlock the objective. That was a really smart, intelligent play from the main tank. So, you know, I could point to any of the other players on Samsung Morningstars and show, you know, moments exactly where the same is true. As you highlighted, though, Overwatch is not just about mechanics. It is also about the concept of understanding tempo, understanding when and where to execute. And right now, Samsung Morningstar is certainly lacking in that particular regard, has them down 0-2. And Sheer Cold, if I'm being brutally honest, have not necessarily shown that they are, you know, world beaters. They're doing very well, but also there seems to be a little bit of self-inflicted pain on Samsung Morningstar's side. Sheer Cold just happens to be the beneficiary at this particular moment.
Yeah, I think we touched a little bit, certainly you and I, before this cast, on how it seems like Sheer Cold are one of these teams that is perpetually very, very strong in trials and always seems to struggle up at Contenders. So it's not like Morningstars are up against the likes of British Hurricane here. Like, you know, there should be ways in to try and get this done, but it's just not working out for them just yet. We do have one more map coming your way, and we're going to be going to Hollywood, which is our hybrid map for today. And if Morningstars can't get a win on the board here, that's as far as we go. We're not going to be seeing any more today.
Right, and again, it is that first of 3, right? So yeah. looking for it, but man, it's a tough place to be if you're a Samsung Morningstars fan, and maybe even a Samsung Morningstars player in this matchup against Sheer Cold, because remember, we're heading to the end of the week of Contenders Trials, and this is about the time where you start to look at the rosters, you start looking at this, you know, the standings, and you're like, all right, how are we planning to kind of approach what's our mentality approaching these games, right? For some teams like Sheer Cold, they're maintenance games. They're games where you start to just solidify your positioning, solidify your teamwork, kind of get a better understanding of what you want to approach as you head into Contenders. For other teams, though, it's about proving that you belong at this level, taking maps off teams that are better than you, you know, showing that you have an understanding of the patch, that your players have the ability to execute under pressure consistently, right? That's kind of the sort of the markings that you see around this 3rd, 4th day. And so for Samsung Morningstars, you're hoping that they continue that thought process and continue just try putting aggression into the conversation as they come up here. But Sheer Cold now going to start on the offense this time around. Chicory still on the Soldier, and it certainly hasn't been the most effective pick from Samsung Morningstars. But we'll see if he can get something done here in map number 3.
I mean, the one thing I will say in Shikari's favor here is that, at the very least, he's been very, very quick at generating tactical visors. I just think it's not that impactful an ult, really, even in this main tankless meta. So, you know, quick ult, great, useful ult, maybe not quite so much. Shade's going to look to take the back stairs here. Oh, finds Kukubao. Had no right finding that pick. There was just a Roadhog at the bottom of the stairs on that one, and somehow Kukubao just walks into the crosshairs of Shade and secures a man advantage for Sheer Cold. This sends Shade in to contest the point, and it's now going to be Shade versus Explorer. Shikari now looking to get onto the low ground and find a little more value here, but Fate Line's going to go down. And that's already 2 players down here for Morningstar. Shikari gets an equalizer, but it's not going to be enough. They needed to move a little bit quicker than this on getting equalizer kills. We do get the nano boost out. So we also have the nano boost coming out onto Shikari. Not finding any kills with it just yet. Some consistent damage will get him most of the way towards a tactical visor, but he's not going to be in a position where he can keep this going. Lafon, he's going to go for it anyway. Thinks he's got an opening. A lot of body damage in, but Grafton's already got arguably the better auto-aiming ult here in Bob, and it's getting picks, and that is it. Another 5-minute time bank available for Sheer Cold.
Yeah, and now we head to the second phase of Hollywood. That's going to be a lot more long range. So, I mean, you're hoping from, you know, a roaming personality, I think, from Soldier here, trying to get to high ground, trying to just force a conversation. Backbone has already played up so aggressively, though, and Reaper, you know, in close, he's a threat, and he's going to have the Death Blossom online in just a moment. So, keep an eye out definitely on how Backbone plays this one aggressively, because it could shut down things pretty quickly for Samsung Morningstars. Think about actually going off the Tracer to the Widowmaker now, trying to play long range.
Okay, well, they do at least now know where Backbone is. I did wonder for a second if they even knew he was up there, but yeah, they're going to find that one out. A nice 1, 2, 3 punch coming through from Morningstar. Shade Grafton and Backbone down. We'll see the Reds come back in onto Grafton, but they've already given over most of this fight. Shikari might have pushed for a little far forward there. Grafton on the high ground turns out to be a great res as he can focus down Shikari. But it's a trade for a trade. Lewis is down. Grafton casually deals with Kukubao, and he's just brought his team back into this fight.
Yeah, that is well within the one-shot range of Ash, so it's just as good as a Widowmaker in that situation, and this fight is over.
Oh, that was really sad as well. Fake Line went for the whole hog, but he got killed in the middle of it. Wasn't healthy enough to make that go, and Refid brings Grafton back in, and the payload's just going to keep on chugging its way through.
Yeah, and I mean, here, you know, how do you contest this objective in this later stages of this point now? You're walking into the whole hog, you're walking into the Bob. This is going to be a tall order. Explorer has to come up clutch with the Zarya and try and get this Graviton online.
Needs to come online pretty quick. We'll see Fake Lion in a position to actually get himself and keep the contest going. Whole hog out knocks Fake Lion away from the cart, stops the recontest coming through. There was a lot of fun, a lot of ults thrown into that fight by both teams. That was quite spectacular.
You'll never take me alive, says Explorer as he resets with his team. A little bit more damage. They're going to have the Grav recontest here, so. Fake Lion going over to the Reinhardt. We're seeing a rush composition. And I did highlight at the top of the show that Reinhardt could be played. Now, it's going to be difficult because, you know, Reinhardt needs to come in and sort of brawl in the melee. Oh, McCree. Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's good. Shuts down the Reaper, theoretically, if they can get him into position.
No one scouts out Backbone. So he knows they're all there, but they don't know where he is.
Oh, well, that's a nice start here. Explorer to find Alex, but Backbone still crouching down here, just waiting for someone to come to him. There we go. He knew Kukubao was there, and Kukubao gets caught in the rotation. And we've got even numbers here, I think, for Morningstars and Sheer Cold. Backbone with just a sliver of health gets out of that one okay, and we see Akaya go down. Numbers advantage once more for Sheer Cold, and Morningstars from the back foot start pedaling their way out of that one. They still got this grab from Explorer. They've just not been in a position to use it. As I say it, they're going to pull the pin and chuck it in. Let's see Graffin go down here, but it's Backbone with a double that really starts to do the work here for Sheer Cold. So they don't even care that there was a Graviton surge on the field. They're just going to walk right through it, Lafon.
Yeah, I mean, this is now like disaster territory for Samsung Morningstars. It's all about the last second contest, but I don't think they have it in them.
Man, Fake Line just got absolutely dissolved on the recontest there. Couldn't even stop the cart a little bit. This is nearly 3 minutes on the time bank for Sheer Cold. Morning Stars still have a lot to do to keep themselves in this one.
Yeah, certainly do. I like that Backbone was sitting in the corner for so long. It's like, if you lurk long enough, eventually someone has to show up, right?
Yeah, Broken Reaper is right twice a day, or words to that effect.
That is possibly the case, but
Yeah,
heading into, that actually begs the question: is it only digital clocks available in the far future? And if so, does that mean that clocks are only right, like broken clocks are only right once a day there?
I feel like I'll need to go and check, but I'm pretty sure the clock tower that you can see that I think might be Big Ben on King's Row, I think that has a traditional clock face.
Certainly. So is it like only ancient history that can use the broken clocks right twice a day thing?
People seem to forget the amount that progress can take from you, and this is just another example of another great idiom that we're going to struggle to use in the future, Lafon. And I don't know, I'm against it generally. I'm against it. As we move onto the defense round here for Sheer Cold, not a lot of change up here. This has been working out for them pretty well so far.
I see this rush comp actually coming in. I like the adaptation to have the Reaper, so you have more brawl in close. The McCree is very squishy. Meanwhile, Reaper can get actually some value here. So if you're able to get the wall up in time from Shikari and zone out the Roadhog, you can start a snowball effect, pun definitely intended, as this rush composition fills in place. So if you can get this first fight a clean wall off, then you're starting to look golden. It all depends on that first wall from Shikari, however.
Okay, we're going to see the rotation up the stairs here, and Sheercold immediately giving up the high ground. And look where Lucer is playing, up on the high ground, well, drops down into Cafe for now. But this has been a quick rotation exactly into the range that Morning Stars want to be playing in. But Explorer goes in alone and will get D-Mech, but it's a 1-for-1 trade because Backbone is now down and out as well. Another pick here from Morning Stars could see them really start to, as you say, snowball it. But Kookaburra's going to go down. Shikari's going to find Alex, looking to get the freeze out, momentarily tags back into the ice block to keep himself alive, and looking to see the pick come through onto Shade here as well. Backbone's coming back in on the Doomfist just to burn some time off the clock. Will find Adna, gets the D-Mech as well, looking to find the kill onto the Baby Diva, and this was such a smart play from Backbone to come back on the Doom.
It's not over yet. They're going to commit the Coalescence, trying to keep this point in their favor.
They've nearly got it. It's going to send Refid down and back to spawn as well. They've got the numbers advantage. They've just got to get back to spawn and make it work. Kookaburra's able to find the double. Fake Lion's taking a bit of a pummeling from Bob, but as he gets out of range and back into the range of the rest of his team, that's where they solidify, and Morning Stars show up with some pep in their step.
The charge is not complete, though. Oh, no, Fake Lion.
Oh, no.
It's okay. Shade found the rest of Samsung Morning Stars, and then Samsung Morning Stars gave him the business end of a couple of rifles. So the reset comes in now for Sheer Cold, and no switches at least yet. Backbone was thinking about it. Stays on the Doomfist, however. Got a ton of value. Is he going back to spawn?
So no, they're clearly having a conversation about what they're looking.
I think Grafton might be switching. Yeah. So
okay, I guess there isn't a direct threat here to Grafton on the Pharah.
No, not really. The only one who could kind of contest him is D.Va, and maybe Akaya on the Moira, but it's only a tall order, so we'll have a little bit more space to work with.
There's a Shatter here in the future, and now in the present. Shatter's going to come out, but they can't capitalize on the downed Roadhog. And that's going to be Sheer Cold pushing right the way back in again. And look at the old charge available here for Grafton. And look at the chase here available for Grafton. He wants the last few ticks on this ultimate.
Ooh, almost got the D-Mech too. Explorer's going to get away, give some space to his supports. The one thing that is coming in now is a plethora of abilities on both squads. I believe this next fight's going to have 10 of a possible 12 online. So look for some explosions happening in the very near future.
I'm predicting we might see the Nano Barrage as well. Just needs to wait out this Coalescence. That's the big threat here. Shikari's down. Might not need to pop some ultimates. You've got a player advantage. There's no more space control available with you. The with the Ice Devil taken out of the cards for now. Sound Barrier is going to come out. There's the Barrage. There's the Death Blossom. There's the D-Mech. And there's the team fight win for Sheer Cold.
And Sheer Cold is actually the team that uses the ultimates last and uses them least. Only one actually committed. It was just the Graviton Surge from Alex, as Kukabao actually uses a defensive Death Blossom. So an expensive fight for Samsung Morning Stars. They do not win Three ultimates used for no gain. And Samsung Morningstar is going to make the switch over to the McCree now. But again, they're clutching at straws here, really, Phil, and they're just hoping for a miracle.
At the very least, they're doing a good job here of playing undercover and making this rotation in a way that makes it tricky for Graffin to find value. Self-destruct comes in, but Backbone's almost able to find the D-Mech Diva there. But in the meantime, over on the front lines, it's going to be Graffin finding one with the Barrage and the Nano Boost. Adnar's going to find Shade, but you've already lost so many here for Morningstars. There's no real chance of you turning that back around. And it's the saddest of sights in Overwatch. It's the slept pilot form Diva-Lafon.
Backbone will, before the sleep ends, put Explorer out of his misery as he resets now with his team. Kukabao makes another switch as he's going over to the Widowmaker, hoping for that long-range hit scan this time around. Grapple shot up.
Oh,
no dice.
Close. Yeah, body shot there onto Lucer. Would have liked the pick on that one. Really, you got to be looking for the mercy. You don't want that rest to come through.
Hook. Oh, God. These hooks from Shade have really just been opening fights up.
Oh, this is an interesting Blizzard. Will interrupt the whole hog from Shade, but as the only person actually caught in the Blizzard, and there's no real follow-up damage. I think Backbone was forced to use the Meteor Strike to get out of the range of the Blizzard there, so not terrible value, but would have really liked a couple of kills on the back end of it. Explorer gets a face full of chemical, retreats to the safety of his team, now finds the position over on the carts, but too slow to make the rotation. The damage coming out from Graffin is too great, and it's uncontested. There's just nothing they can really do to stop this. They might be getting cart progress, Lafon, but they're not getting the fight win that they really need, and now they've got just over a minute to make it happen.
I want to highlight a really cool play in that last fight from Graffin. The Blizzard actually traps two people in the freeze. They're unable to get out in time with mobility. Graffin actually uses the concussive blast before that starts to knock people off the high ground and himself at range. So it basically nullifies the entire Blizzard despite the freeze coming on two targets. So the Pharah player putting a lot of work in here in the second phase of Hollywood on Shirko's defense. Now, heading into this next fight, Chicory makes another switch onto the Genji. Man, this is a Hail Mary with 30 seconds remaining. You're hoping for a clean dive.
Yeah, it's got to come up big here. Talk about Rapid. That's a nice big pick because now all of the kills that can come through from the dive are not going to be taken out of it. Akaya with a second there. Graffin gets taken out before the barrage can come out. And finally, with the final seconds of the fight, Morningstars look like they might have this one in their sights. We're going to see another last second contest here from Sheer Cold, I'm sure, because that payload's got around the corner now.
I mean, Alex is on the wrecking ball, so they're definitely going for a recontest here. It's going to be a very, very close fight, though. Oh,
Jay is able to get in, finds Shikari, pops the whole hog, starts to blast them all up into the sky, finds Fake Lion, and it's Alex in the back looking to get the spray down there onto Akaya. Instead, gets the roll down onto Akaya, and it's Adnar and Explorer trying to keep this alive, and fair play to you guys for trying, but there's just too many of them in your way.
And that is going to be it. Sheer Cold takes this series 3-0 over Samsung Morningstars. They continue their run through, and I believe have cemented themselves towards the top end of this bracket, confirming their Contenders' hopes for this season.
Yeah, that puts them on a 4-0 scoreline with a +10 map differential overall. Dark Mode, the only team looking to match that, and Dark Mode, I believe, playing Obey Alliance today, so we might see this top position come down entirely to the matchup between Sheer Cold and Dark Mode tomorrow. So it's not often in Trials that we get that final game on the broadcast that really dictates how things are going to go. So should be an exciting one tomorrow at the very least.
Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward to that. But Phil, we have two more orders of business. First, there is another match today. So stick around for that when that comes up. But we'll also have an interview as our second order of business. And that is as we bring in from the winning team here.
Looks like we may be dealing with a slight technical issue here. We do have Graffin coming in to join us here. There we go. Graffin, congratulations. Welcome to the interview. Still muted. No, I definitely heard him. Definitely heard him talking. There we go. Okay, Graffin, hi. How are you? Yeah, that's a pretty good record for you guys. I believe that's coming into day 5, having not dropped a single map in Contenders Trials.
Maybe, I think. I'm not sure.
Actually, no, I'm looking at the stats now. Sorry, you have dropped 2, so you need to tighten things up a little bit. So how were you feeling coming into this match against Samsung Morningstars, a team that has traditionally been around the same sort of echelon, the same sort of elo as you guys. What sort of level of preparation did you put in for this?
We didn't really prep at all.
Okay.
We were very confident coming into this. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Now, we actually mentioned on broadcast that you guys have a match that technically matters in the standings tomorrow, which is rare in trials. The last day having some value. Are you guys coming into that just prepping to continue the sort of winning ways, or is there a specific thing you're kind of looking out for?
I think we're just looking to fix the basic mistakes we're doing right now, and just try to perfect our comps and just play as confident as we can tomorrow. I don't think we're too worried about it.
Right. I guess now heading into, in terms of speaking of perfecting composition, something that we've seen from you guys a lot in the last couple of matches, or at least I have seen from you guys in the last couple of matches, is certainly that Roadhog, composition based around, playing off the Roadhog Zarya a lot of the time, stepping Alex in for the Wrecking Ball. I want to talk though specifically about you. You play a lot of the hit scan in general, specifically obviously the Ashe in this match, but switching up to the Pharah. Was that something that's pre-planned depending on clearly the meta being, favoring the hit scan with a lack of shields, or was it sort of a on the fly turning to Pharah, just seeing the composition your opposition was running?
So when the meta changed, we wanted to play Pharah comps on Koth, just to have a different comp for Koth compared to other maps. We usually play Ashe or whatever, Widow on some other maps. And Backbone Tracer was really good, so we just threw me on Pharah because I've a little bit of previous experience on Pharah, and we've just been playing that comp since.
Well, it looked really, really, really good, obviously, here for Samsung Morningstars. Phil, any questions here?
Yeah, I have one more question, which is sheer cold. I think it's fair to call you Trials Warlords, because I've been watching you guys for the past 3 seasons, and you just rocket through Trials every time. And you seem to not quite have the gas left in the tank to really make it in Contenders proper. Is this next season finally going to be the season of sheer cold in Contenders?
I think we've had a lot of our issues, of course, sheer choking and all this. Now we've had some very, very embarrassing losses in Contenders that we'll not talk about. But I think we can get our stuff together. We can work really hard, and I mean, if we just work really hard, we get confidence, and we stay confident in our officials, don't play differently. I think we can say. I think we'll be okay.
That's great. Well, we're gonna be watching that with bated breath and keeping our fingers crossed for you, Grathan. So before we throw to a break, Grathan, anybody you'd like to give a quick shout out to?
I guess shout out to Backbone for playing Mystery Heroes this match. It was pretty good seeing him on the Reaper. I love to see it. So yeah.
Great. Well, thanks again, Grathan. Congratulations and best of luck in your one remaining match here in Contenders Trials. But for everybody else currently watching at home or work or wherever you may be, we're going to go through to a quick break when we get our next set of teams into the lobby, which I believe is VASTA versus Young and Beautiful. Should be another great match, and we hope you'll join us for that in just a few minutes. Welcome back, everybody. Warned you that it was only going to be a handful of minutes, and we are back with our second of today's games. VASTA Gaming versus Young and Beautiful. I remain Big Hungry Phil. Still with me is LaFon. And LaFon, this is an interesting one, at the very least, if you've been watching Young and Beautiful's roster moves recently.
It certainly has. And I mean, as we look at Young and Beautiful's roster in just a minute, you'll notice a interesting DPS. No, you know what I'm going for. The tank line there coming in, ready to show off. Lulzish and Hafikul argue one of the best tank lines in, one of the best tank lines in Contenders and they're in Contenders trials. So Young and Beautiful looking to make a huge mark in this season of Contenders EMEA.
It's a real mark, I think, towards the quality of the Young and Beautiful brand, that they're able to lose one of their Overwatch League level player tanks in Brusen and immediately pick up another Overwatch League level tank in Lulzish, only just released by the Washington Justice in time to come and play in Contenders Trials EMEA this season. And Hafikul is one of these players that I think is perpetually causing analysts and casters to scratch their heads going, how is this guy not in Overwatch League yet? Like, he's been such a strong player for such a long time.
And man, it's legitimately confusing to me, because I think across multiple roles, Hafikul has proven that he can play at the tier 1 level, right? It's not just off tank that we're saying, okay, Hafikul is really, really good. He played DPS very well as well. Might I remind you, and Hafikul has control over so many of the tank roster. His Wrecking Ball is spectacular. Zarya and D.Va have been really, really good. We've seen his Sigma be wondrous as well. So I think Young and Beautiful have, if not a top 5 tank line in Contenders, I'm not saying Contenders Europe, I'm saying Contenders, then it's not much lower than that. So high hopes for this tank line specifically, but we can't talk about Young and Beautiful all day long. They do have an opposition coming in. Opposite to them is a VASTA Gaming, and these players too certainly have a wealth of experience here in Europe.
Of course they do. Nipperhog, I think, in particular, has been a really good pickup here for VASTA Gaming, although the VASTA Gaming roster has done an awful lot of mutating over the past couple of seasons of Contenders and Contenders Trials. They were originally, I believe, the core of the Nudiki roster, who then became Sauna Gaming, who then became VASTA Gaming, and I don't know that any of the original players from Nudiki are still with VASTA Gaming, so there has been a lot of change here for these guys. And it shows, I think, a lot about the quality of the coaching and the overall structure of the team, that they're still able to keep competing at this Contenders Trials level.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to get into game in just a moment, starting off as we always do on Control. Nepal is going to be our first match up here. You got a quick look at our map pool, and should we need it, we can go all the way to that map 5, but it's a first of 3, as is all games in Contenders Trials. Looking forward to seeing how map 1 goes out. A small reminder to our friends watching at home, hopefully you have multi-monitors, because there's some great games moving across all of Overwatch right now. And 2, there are going to be a couple of names that you have to keep an eye out. EMEA player 0249 is going to be our tank Lulzish. He unfortunately didn't have enough time to get his account's name into the OPR, but he will be there. So keep an eye out. That is who is playing here for Young and Beautiful. And realistically, I'm very excited to see what Yab brings to the table. I think they have now a team that really has a chance to make a run at Contenders. You know, British Hurricane. Hey, I know their analyst is saying, hey, maybe British Hurricane has a chance to have some opposition here and now with this tank line. So yeah, some time needed to obviously get your tank line to gel, but I think they're hoping for a run at the #1 spot, not just making it Contenders, but making it all the way to the finals and winning it there.
It is worth noting, though, that whilst we are in Contenders trials, Young and Beautiful have actually dropped a game already. I believe they lost to the Ultimates yesterday. Yeah, so not infallible. Like, really, if you want to be in that position to say, okay, yeah, we're going to dominate trials and then we're going to dominate Contenders, you want that 3-0 scoreline on coming into day 4 to really, really lend some weight to that argument. They don't have it just yet. I think one of the things you mentioned, like the synergy between Lulzish and Hafikul, is going to be still developing. They've not been playing together for that long, but you know, the signs are there that this might not just yet be the team to take down British Hurricane. And I think if you're in Contenders Europe and you're looking at British Hurricane, you've got to be wondering when is somebody going to poach somebody from British Hurricane to knock them off that top spot?
Yeah, and I mean, one thing we got to highlight though with this group, you know, drawing back to trials for just a moment, is that Group B, which Young and Beautiful are in, is a very contested group, right? The top 4 teams are tied right now. So actually, no, it's more than that. It's sorry, it is 4. Yeah, 2 and 1. It's top 4. So yeah, Shoes Money Crew, Young and Beautiful, Hot Bath, and the Ultimates all at 2 and 1 here in Group B, which means, drawing to this match, that this match is actually very critical for our standings in heading to the last day of trials. And Group B is looking to shape up to be a real competitive engagement here in this season.
It is, but I think one of the things that we maybe ought to bring this back to is that whilst it is tied up very heavily at the top of the group, VASTA Gaming, out of 3 games, have only managed 1 win so far, that being over CBA, who are currently winless in the group. So there's an argument here that this is an echelon difference between the 2 teams here today. And whilst VASTA Gaming, they've got a huge amount of potential, they've got a lot of that sort of hungry energy on their side to try and get another win on the board. Young and Beautiful are not a team that are just going to roll over and let you have that. But we might, Lafon, be staring down the barrel of another kind of low map score game here today.
Yeah, it's I mean, trials is going to be like that, right? That's just sort of the nature. Yeah. It's just the sort of nature of what you kind of have to expect. But I want to talk about, you know, sort of this conversation, because I think bringing Lulzish in, talking about Young and Beautiful here for a second, and I want to draw to the meta sort of discussion that we have before nearly every match, especially in a scenario where we just had a recent patch. The question is, are we going to see, you know, that mobility-based composition from Young and Beautiful? Because we saw, obviously, Sheer Cold do love to run the Roadhog. They've been pretty committed to that. Some of the teams that we've seen, you know, towards the upper end of Contenders tend to want to run the dive a little bit more. British Hurricane, I think, most notable amongst them, as we, you know, highlight their achievements. They liked running the Winston Diva from everything I've seen from them. So is that going to be an evolution? Is Young and Beautiful going to play that composition that trends towards the static Roadhog pickoff comp, or are they going to go with the more mobility-based dive, especially based around a mobility character like Sombra or Tracer?
I think that one of the things we should consider, of course, is that Hafikul himself is ex-British Hurricane. Yeah. So, you know, all of that coaching experience that went into Hafikul before he decided to step down and take a break from Overwatch for a little while is still there. So he's got that wisdom to impart into the rest of the team, as well as, of course, the coaching that's going to be coming in from Kasaurus and Young and Beautiful. So they absolutely can run that sort of composition. I'm confident they have that there. Whether or not the meta really favors that, whether or not VASTA are going to give them the opportunity to run that, or if they know how to counter-engage with dive coming in, will dictate a lot about what we see coming out from Young and Beautiful here. It feels like, despite the fact that we don't have much of a main tank meta at the minute, it's a meta that allows for a lot of different answers and counters if you can get the correct read on your opponent.
Absolutely. Well, Phil, I think we're going to have to throw to a quick break while we wait for the players to situate themselves, because it seems to be a little technical difficulties on our side of things. When that gets Resolve will be right back into game. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back, everybody. Here we are, finally ready to start. Apologies for the small delay. Rest assured, we've chased all the gremlins out of the computers, and we are now ready to come at you live in real time with Young and Beautiful versus VASTA Gaming. And LaFawn, looking at what we've got currently hovered in Spawn, I actually don't think I'd be surprised by either of these.
Not at all. This is one of those cases where I would actually really like to see this because it would be an evolution of the composition that we've sort of seen developing slowly. So we'll see how it plays out. But right now, yeah, both teams looking to run the mobile tank composition. Reaper, though, versus the Sombra. That is an interesting adaptation.
Ooh, a lot of damage there onto Rocket, and a beautiful little dash in by Lolsish. Drops the shield, stops anybody being able to heal or damage through whilst the rest of his team is protected. And it means Young and Beautiful are going to stuff up this choke and force a wait or a rotation out from VASTA. Well, maybe one gets found out there on the Sombra. Happy Cool goes in for a dive to chase him down. Algate gets in on the back line, dashes through to join his team, and now it's Lolsish on the low ground. In a little bit of a spot here, needs to get back out and rejoin his team. Early positioning on the point, and speaking of early, that's a massively early coalescence coming out from Abs. Can't find a target to focus down, instead just going to try and keep Rocket alive through that. He gives away into the back line, has a line onto the Lucio, tracking him from the sky, but can't find the pick just yet. The hippity-hoppity frog boy proving a little bit too hard to track. Kickers will find him eventually, and now has the Daft Blossom ready to go. They've got the point, and now they've got the kills to finally win the fights.
And the big difference there is that even though the coalescence comes online first, Abs actually has to use it mostly to heal rather than press aggression. So yeah, doing a great job of putting pressure on the front line, and now Lolsish is going to have a lot of aggression. He's going to be able to play in super aggressively here with the Primal Rage.
That must have been terrifying from Wamemo. He just got absolutely piled onto. He has got the EMP, but there's a lot of damage coming his way. You're going to see Lolsish now alone defending point whilst the rest of his team rotate back in. He will have the Primal, throws it in, receives the EMP, and it's a big EMP, but there's no follow-up to it just yet, Lafon. And that's going to be Lolsish finding one, Jonah with the second, and now all the space in the world to just get this nice slow cleanup damage and drag out the fights.
Credit to Dala there for making sure to stay outside the range of the EMP, hiding in time to get the sound barrier off to defend. And I want to highlight something actually from Young and Beautiful that they're doing already early on. If you'll notice, Lolsish, even though he dives aggressively, is never alone. Jonah or Happy Cool are always there with him to support. So the Winston getting so much value here on Young and Beautiful side. And you know, this Graviton Surge is going to have to be a game changer because it's the only real chance to come back in this fight, already at 90%, heading to this last fight.
And they've got to be really careful. We need to hack onto Happy Cool to stop him getting out the defense matrix. Well, it will come through. It's one pick already. MVP down to Jonah. There's the Death Blossom from Yikids, and Yaba doing a great job of forcing this fight to happen away from the point, but Kage is able to find one here, takes Dollar down, and now there's a numbers advantage.
Oh, damage just 1 HP.
Oh, Jonah found it. They got the flip, but the numbers are here for Young and Beautiful. They're going to come back in and keep this going. Nipperhole focus down by the coalescence, and that's going to be the immediate flip back the other way here for Young and Beautiful to farm.
That's it. That's going to be the round as Happy Cool gets the melee kill onto Abs. Jonah just playing gatekeeper here. Maymon trying to get in time, but this is going to be a staggered fight at best.
That was nearly such a good body block there from Lolsish to stop Rocket tagging onto the point momentarily, but he was able to get back in. But there's just too many people there for a lone Wrecking Ball to really keep this going for that much longer. The overtime wick's going to tick down, and that's going to be the first point going over to Young and Beautiful on the pole.
That is such a controlled round from Young and Beautiful, and the percentage that was ticked over to VASTA was not really anything meaningful, right? It was just a quick reset as Young and Beautiful came back in to regain control. And already Young and Beautiful showing that they have the right to be at the top of this group. Some very spectacular, clean execution, tagging in as a team, making sure they get that objective contest, and that allows them to get the first round pretty handily. Now heading into map number 2, or stage number 2 rather, there is going to be looks like Gikid's going to go over to the Sombra, so a little bit of a change there. No more Reaper here as they probably mirror out the compositions.
Yeah, I was wondering what Jonah was going to go for, and that is that direct mirror here. But with that additional teleporter coming out for Young and Beautiful, they might have a little bit more early positioning onto the point. We'll see
Rocket
there. Yeah, Rocket's taken out of the fight already, and it's a dangerous player to lose this early on in the fight. And you can tell the VASTA know this. They're backing away. They don't want to engage when they don't have to. They don't want to feed over ult charge.
Lord, it's so good seeing Lolsish play more Overwatch. It's been, you know, having him in the Overwatch League and not getting time on stage was really, I think, a big, is a tough one if you're a fan of Overwatch. Lolsish has been a fantastic player for a very long time. So we're going to see if he can, how he performs here in this next fight at 30% of the Primal Rage.
It's a real shame that we don't get to see him back with Ellie-Boat, kind of famous as a tank duo. However, having Happy Cool's a pretty good substitution here. Oh, Lawsish focused down there. I believe the hack came through, and the focus damage coming out from that was too big to overcome. But Jonah gets the equalizer, and now there's no Winston available for either team, but there's still kill potential here. Ab's able to find one with the Coalescence, and Jonah has to back away. We'll have the pulse bomb, but not healthy enough to really find anything meaningful with it. Still having ults committed here. When Maimon throws in the EMP, we'll get a couple of picks there, and looks like VASTA might have the upper hand here, but Yab are really making them work for it. Like, this has been a 30% fight so far.
Yeah, they're not giving it up either. Actually, they're just going to straight up win this fight.
This is crazy. This is such a comeback. This is the value of having a tank line like this as Losish comes in and finds the double with the Primal Rage. Nipperhog and Abs down. Yes, he gets focused down at the back end of it, but Young and Beautiful are still in control of the points.
That's not just good tank play. That's just good play from Young and Beautiful. Yes, they lose the fight. I think they lost the fight, you know, halfway through that, around the 30% mark. But it's a case of people tagging in, making sure the objective doesn't tick over. And as I said, on control, if the objective doesn't take over to your opponent, you're still in it. And obviously the clutch Primal Rage there from Alolzic helps them close it out. EMP available to Yickens now.
Well, we'll pull that in. Looking to get the combo with the self-destruct, won't quite find it. Yickens will get the hack there on the low ground, and the follow-up MVP is going to go down, so no sound barrier available here for VASTA. And Young and Beautiful looking to take this to 99-0. VASTA, they've got to do something big here with this EMP to make this happen. They will find the opening frag. Jones going to go down, and there's the EMP. Hits both tanks, and there's a lot of focus fire here. Will wear down Happy Cool. This might be the fight that Young and Beautiful will have to lose here just by the sheer weight of ultimates thrown their way, but they're coming back at this one with ults to throw at it.
Yeah, that's the first clear fight win. Actually, Jonah's pulse bomb is denied, but that's not gonna swing the fight in Young and Beautiful's favor. It's gonna start. They're gonna have to play a little bit more time on the objective. So Primal Rage available yet again to Lulzish, and he's been lapping Rocket in these Primal Rages.
Yeah, it's really fortunate. Hack comes through, and the Coalescence has to come through just to keep Rocket alive in this fight. Lulzish hasn't had the cause to pop the Primal Rage just yet. Might have to jump out to get out of the way of the self-destruct. A lot of space bought there. Sound barrier out from MVP as well, keeps his team alive and keeps Yickens alive long enough to pull on a massive EMP, finds two, and Sky Ripper goes on a tear, takes out two, and this is going to be the flip back over. It's the last fight. Young and Beautiful looking very crisp. We'll see a last little tag in by Wamaimon, but there's just not enough there to keep it going long enough to really matter the fall.
Yeah, that is going to be Young and Beautiful taking map number 1, and dominantly so. Phil, I realistically speaking, that was all Young and Beautiful on that map, and I would, VASTA certainly has some talent. Kage actually looks pretty good on the Tracer at times. Some good pickoffs on his counterpart. So Jonah had to take the, when forced to take the 1v1, really was about equal to Kage. But I would say the difference here is the teamwork and coordination that Young and Beautiful are bringing. Spectacular mechanical plays aside, I saw several times where the objective, it really was a lost fight for Young and Beautiful. And instead of losing it, they just stalled out long enough for their respawns to come in, making sure to kite aggro well enough that they just were able to take a 6v6 fight and then won that one off the lack of resources that VASTA was bringing to the table.
And that feels to me a little bit like the tale of what we've seen across both our games today. In our first match, Sheer Cold with a demonstrably much higher level of teamwork and coordination than their opponents, and coming into this round with Young and Beautiful, seeing again, even with a relatively new tank line for the team, just such understanding of the base mechanics of, we are here, we need to complete this objective together as a team, having a plan and acting upon it. It's been really great to watch, even just after one round.
No, certainly, and I think that's something that will should they make it into Contenders, one thing that will benefit them quite greatly is having that kind of control over tempo, right? That's a big thing. I want to go back to the thing I mentioned about kiting aggro, and I want to explain what I mean by that, because it's, saying kiting aggro doesn't really mean a whole lot, but the explanation of that is this, right? Is that when VASTA targets one player on Young and Beautiful side when they're contesting objective, right? When they're trying to buy time, they use an ultimate, right? So that ultimate gets used to try and deal with one player, but then that player will step away out of the sort of the periphery of the focus, and then another player will come in and take that space. So what that means is that then that resource that was committed to that one player has to be switched over to this new player coming in, and all of a sudden you have divided attention, and you don't actually confirm any eliminations. Do that over and over and over again, and then eventually when all 6 players respawn on Young and Beautiful side, they're able to come back into the fight, and all those resources that were once there have vanished into the ether, and Young and Beautiful's opposition now have no way of dealing with this surge of aggression that's coming in. So that's what I mean when I say Kite aggro really well. The long-winded explanation of 2 words. All that means is from a map number 1, Young and Beautiful looking to be dominant in our first series here.
And as we move into our second map for today, which is going to be Volskaya once again, now moving over into the control map, we're going to be looking to see whether or not Young and Beautiful can recreate that success. They've been looking very practiced at it. If they can continue to kite aggro and capitalize on their opponent's mistakes, this could be another shutout here for Young and Beautiful. We're going to be starting with VASTA Gaming on the defense this time, and this is the look we saw from them on Nepal as well.
Yeah, and I remember...
You
see a right heart here from Happy Cool. I just got to chuckle. He's not going to play it, but I just got to chuckle. No, but you're right. This is a composition that we saw on Control, and it does have value. That's not a composition that I think we saw why it could be very effective. It's a lot quicker, and if you get a hack off from a Maimon, you can really get some value there. So definitely a viable target. Happy Cool playing another one of his signature heroes, one of his 3 signature heroes. What an insane off-tank player on the Wrecking Ball out early. Definitely going to have a harder time of things against the Sombra, but we'll see how he fares.
Well, it's going to rely on Maimon being in position to get something done with these early hacks. Not going to be able to find anything through the shield just yet. And you can tell Young and Beautiful are looking for info right now. And they now know where Maimon is. Will force him out and back towards that health pack. Happy Cool took a lot of damage in that one and will lose the mech here. Dollar's going to find Abs here, so almost an equalization, but with Lolsish going down here, it feels kind of a nothing burger of a fight, despite the fact that trades are still coming on. And this support line from Yab of finding pick after pick after pick here, and somehow grinding this fight out where they had no business winning this.
Dollar kind of clean with it, actually. The Lucio coming in clutch. And, I mean, that's his first point.
Wow. Happy back on the Diva, looking to stop the recontest coming through. Kage will tag in, immediately receives those. Sky Ripper getting the hack, sorry. So the recontest is now back in from VASTA to try and squeeze out a little bit more time off the point B offense, but Young and Beautiful are too collected, too calm, too coordinated, too catastrophically powerful here for VASTA to really make this recontest happen. There's the D-Mech, there's the point flip, and I think they're just going to ignore Nipperhog for now. He's going to have to get that reset the hard way.
Yeah, he's going to throw himself off the map, but he's going to respawn in no time at all. Look at that. He's back already.
Huh. How lucky. And speaking of back, Yab are already back in it on point B. Sky Ripper opening things up here with the glowing light of doom. The Coalescence trying to beam down Kage. Kage just looked to almost forget that that was a problem for a second. Stand in the middle of it. Lolsish being really, really aggressive with this one. Interrupts the hack. Able to buy a huge amount of space. And that's 2 ticks on the board already for Young and Beautiful. VASTA Gaming with the tags onto the point with the self-destruct in play. EMP over the top. Will hit almost all of Young and Beautiful, but crucially, it didn't get Dollar, and Dollar kept them alive right the way through that self-destruct output. Sky Ripper with the double. Happy Cool gets the pick onto Rocket, and that's over 4.5 minutes to cap point B.
God, I missed watching good dive compositions, Phil. What a spectacular engage.
My veins.
Oh, man. What a spectacular engage from Lulzish there. And then the rest of his team to back him up. Plays it extremely aggressively. We saw that Primal Rage from Lulzish's perspective. He's able to deny the hack. I mean, Maimon trying his best to deny the Primal Rage, but instead, Lulzish is the one that comes on top. And then obviously, Dala bailing out his team with the sound barrier. Spectacular play on Young and Beautiful side. And a pretty healthy time bank as the end result. It looks chaotic, but there is a purpose behind every engage that a dive composition takes, and we saw it there, right? The Primal Rage takes the aggression, and then you find the Tracer and Sombra try and find angles to put pressure from the side, and the support's making sure everyone stays alive the whole way. So clearly a well-practiced team here in Young and Beautiful, and even with that little bit of time, they've looked really, really good.
It's one of the things I love about being in a situation where, you know, I maybe play at not the highest elo of Overwatch myself personally, but like listening to pros and people like with a really deep understanding go, oh, you know, we're playing dive. The goal is we jump in, we isolate this target, we get it done, whatever. But if you're at a low rank, you just hear jump in, and that's typically all that happens. It's really nice to watch the follow through happen in high ranking matches like this one.
Now we'll see if VASTA can make something of the return, and the only difference here being now Dala on the Mercy, so he'll be giving Jonah a lot more pressure in the Ashe. So the one-shot's definitely capable here as Lulzish backs out after putting some pressure on the front line.
There's a nice eat there by Nipperhog onto the Dynamite, stops that coming through, but nearly a fifth of the way to the ultimate already here for Jonah. Shows just what a boosted Ashe can do. Happy Cool with the drop down onto the low ground with the defense matrix. Keeps Lulzish just that little bit healthier, and the mobility here from Happy Cool is really what's important. The ability to take different positions in the fight and find ways to help his team is massive. We've got a 1-for-1 trade here. Rocket's going to go down, but they lose Dollar at the same time. But Yikis and Skyrip between them have found a way to more than equalize this one. Nice dive in from Happy Cool to project Jonah, and a fight win here for Yab.
Yeah, and man, just across the board, spectacular gameplay. Skyrip stays alive and all the while healing Jonah, dancing on the high ground after Dala went down. So the Ana doing so much work in the back line. Gonna have the nano boost. I would expect probably Yikis or Lulzish getting this nano boost. Put even more pressure on the front line. Just, again, go for broke in this next engagement.
Let's see how that works out for them. There's only the Coalescence available here for Vasta. Force Bomb comes out early, and Rocket just able to casually walk past that one. There's the Nano Boost. Will land on Lulzish. But he gets hacked, and so can't get out of that fight just yet. Will eventually retreat, but it means he couldn't really get a lot done with the Nano Boost and the extra damage that provides you. Will come out of it with the Primal Rage, but Vasta are just going to wait and restage here, wait for the re-engage.
Yeah, and I mean, that Bob buys so much time as well. So now half a time bank gone for Vasta. They need to find a target to get in on here.
Oh,
what a sleep.
That's an amazing sleep. Kaga's able to find one with Force Bomb, though, and that's a nice opener. Dollar's going to go down on this one, and even with a self-destruct and a Primal Rage, you've got to be a masterful juggler to make anything happen here in a meaningful way, but they're starting to claw this one back. The Primal Rage comes out as well as the self-destruct. Lulzish might be able to win this one out, but he might be able to generate a little bit more time burn off the clock for Young and Beautiful.
There was an opportunity. I actually think Young and Beautiful are going to try and retake this. That was Lulzish using the Primal Rage to get back. He's got the Mercy.
And that was crazy. What a exercise in positioning and mobility here. Yikis is now back in the fight. Hafikul finds MVP. The EMP comes out over the top, hits 4. Won't get a pick with a Force Bomb, but Jonah with a primary fire is going to find App. And somehow Young and Beautiful find their way back into this team fight. They almost gave it up, but they tagged back in at the last second to really make this one work out. Look at the spin to win coming out from Dollar, still bringing Hafikul back into the fight. And this has been an absolute masterclass from Young and Beautiful.
60 seconds remaining.
What a re-engage. It's been such a long time since I've seen something as clean as that. Spectacular gameplay from Young and Beautiful to bring that one back in. It all starts off with a winnable call, for sure. Hafikul makes the self-destruct go in, then they use the Primal Rage, and then taxiing back the Mercy to get the Valkyrie and AoE healing.
Oh, happy.
That's all bold, but I mean, that does not do that. Just what a spectacular play on the opening. And with that pick off on the main support, Young and Beautiful still have this fight.
Yeah, and honestly, they're probably going to try and keep this going as long as possible because there's a world here where they win this team fight and take it all the way down into overtime and stop the full recontest coming through. Lulzish clearly wants to take that fight a little bit further. He's going to have the Primal Rage ready for this next one. There are now 15 seconds on the clock, Lafon, and Vasta, they've only got the sound barrier to make something happen with.
Oh, Hafikul. Okay, well, they have a sound barrier and a man advantage.
Well, yeah, I couldn't have predicted that one. The Bob's out nice and early. Jonah already climbing up in ult charge. Dickens finds Kage, and that's going to be the man advantage down. Sound barrier comes out, will prevent too many more kills coming out on to VASTA for at least a little while longer. Looks like they've got the man advantage, they've got the positional advantage as Rocket gets the chase down onto Jonah, but nobody expected Hafikul to run in with the tail end of the Nano Boost and take out Rocket as he was trying to deal with Jonah. Dollar goes full Battle Mercy. Sky Ripper on the high ground looks to raid in the final few bits of damage, and the minefield solidifies that there for Young and Beautiful. A point A shutdown. No sign of point B for VASTA.
Ooh, VASTA is looking at the dregs of that point and are like, how did we not capture it? That was two really good fights from Young and Beautiful. I mean, I actually want to go back after this broadcast is done and go over that retake at 2/3 captured, because that was spectacular play from every single person, Young and Beautiful. And remember what I said on map number 1 about that kiting aggro? That was done to perfection. That was that same concept taken all the way up to 11, and it again starts off with that call to commit the self-destruct and primal rage, and then mechanically outplay VASTA. So Young and Beautiful showing that they deserve to be in Contenders and saying, we want to make a splash there, not just here in Trials.
Young and Beautiful taking things to 11, but for ourselves here on broadcast, we're going to be taking things to 3, map 3 that is, as we move forward in the series. We're going to be going to Hollywood next, our hybrid map for today, and honestly, you don't like as a caster to try and predict what the scoreline is going to be in the middle of the match, but if Yap continue to play like that, there's a world here where this is as far as VASTA goes, despite all of the adaptations, all of the changes they've made to the roster in the off-season. It might just be where it ends for him.
Yeah, I mean, the thing to note there is, I think for VASTA, we've talked a lot about Young and Beautiful because it's been a lot of Young and Beautiful in the match, right? But for VASTA, and it's in Trials, we do have to, you want to highlight the team on the opposite end of things, because Trials is not the end of your your path, so to speak. There's a lot to be said about staying in Trials and continuing, that path to the next season, especially in the format that we have in this current iteration of Contenders. I would say that for VASTA, a lot of what it comes down to is that Young and Beautiful look so extremely practiced, right? They look like they've been playing together for a very long time, despite that, not being the case. Young and Beautiful look like an old hand team on a new roster.
It's worth noting that as well as having picked up Hafikul and Lawsish, Sky Ripper is also new to the roster inside the last week, I think. And for me, personally, as somebody who's a fan of the old Clockwork Vendetta roster, watching Sky Ripper go from a player who was kind of tricking Zen and Mercy to an actually capable, fully flexible support player playing in a very high-ranking team has been a real fun glow up to watch it.
Well, I mean, in the last 3 days, Sky Ripper, Lulzish, and Hafikul all officially joined Young and Beautiful. So that's very, very new.
Yeah.
Relative to the rest of what we expect teams to kind of situate themselves at, and I think it speaks volumes about the team that they've made this many strides this quickly. But we are going to see mirror compositions as we head into Hollywood, and Rock gets hacked. Oh no!
What? He just gets hacked. He's got no way to get out, and Yikits just completely removes him from the game. Gets the second MVP down here as well, and VASTA just don't have a leg to stand on anymore.
Yeah, that's likely the point. Yeah, that's it.
What is there to even analyze on that? The Rocket just got caught out and it all fell apart.
Yeah, no, that hack is so critical, and it's one of the reasons why I'm surprised that we're seeing so much Roadhog when Sombra exists.
Yeah.
Especially on these closed maps where it's tough to kind of maneuver on a flank. So we're seeing the Sombra get a ton of value. It gets 10% ahead on EMP charge against his opposition, but across the board, it's Absol's gonna have probably the first or second ult here as Jonah's coming up on the pulse bomb, but it's really gonna come down to that first execute. Can you survive the EMP? If so, maybe you have an opportunity, but I mean, Young and Beautiful are looking very healthy here.
It's going to be Jonah looking to get that first ult on the table.
Oh, no.
The pick. Abs is down. Might not even need the pulse bomb here. You've got the man advantage. You've got the positional advantage. And a casual, almost not even caring that it happened. Jetpack kill there to take Kage out of the fight, and Young and Beautiful look like they're playing on easy mode right now.
Things go wrong, they go really wrong. That jump pack kill was not supposed to happen. Lulzish gets slightly booped and hits his head against the elevator, so his jump pack gets cut short, accidentally killing the Tracer.
Man, that's unfortunate. That's 2 pulse bombs and 2 Diva eats there. Happy Cool deciding that as well as getting the eat, he's going to get the melee kill onto a Maimon. Sky Ripper facing a little bit of hardship there, but able to get to the health pack and get his cooldown available. And the payload during all of this hasn't really slowed down a huge amount. Self-destruct nicely contained by the bubble there. And Young and Beautiful starting to look like they're smurfing down here in Contenders Trials.
Yeah, that's, you know, not unexpected. You have an Overwatch League caliber tank, you know, in favor. And they look, I mean, Lulzish looks clean. It looks like he's played every day for the last year, and even though we haven't seen him in an official since until trial started.
Man, it's such a shame that we didn't get to see him actually strut his stuff with Elivo on the Washington Justice. Hopefully this is going to be the start of a redemption arc for this player, because he's been putting on a clinic here today. And look, we've got 5 ults for Young and Beautiful coming into this next fight. Now 4, as we see Lulzish throwing in the Primal Rage yet again. There's the D-Mech, there's the kill onto the pilot form. There's the casual swing of the Monkey Arm to the Winston. Back to point for some health and to support his supports. And we keep the payload moving, LaFon.
I like to call EMP and Hack the win more abilities, but they only help you win more when you're already, you know, winning. When Maimon actually throws that in a very lost fight, and now you don't have your best retake potential into this next engagement. You're going to have the sound barrier, which will help you survive, but that's mirrored out by Dala. This is going to be a really tough fight for VASTA.
Really unfortunate jump there by Rocket, and MVP has to use the sound barrier to keep him alive. He spent so long butting his head against the top of that doorway that a lot of damage came his way. That's the second eat on a pulse bomb from Happy Cool just in this one map, and to add the cherry on top, gets the gets the explosion kill onto MVP, and you can try and stagger this out if you like, VASTA, but Young and Beautiful are on a tear. They've got momentum on their side, and that's going to be 4 minutes and change on the clock.
And now VASTA, hey, there again, remember, Young and Beautiful is at match point. So you have to be in a position now, if you are VASTA, to play up aggressively on your attack run, because you are looking at that time bank and you're kind of worried about what you have to do here. 4 minutes, 3 seconds is impressive for Hollywood. And I mean, VASTA are on the ropes here.
You kind of got a feel for VASTA, because looking at Young and Beautiful a week ago, you go, oh, cool, they've just lost their tank line. And then actually they find possibly one of the strongest tank lines in Contenders EMEA right now. And VASTA Gaming, they needed a win here today to put them into contestation for that 3rd and 4th place slot that would see them stick on in trials for the next season and not have to run the gamut of open division again. As things stand, it's not looking like that's going to be the case for them, and they are going to have to go back down to open division next month.
This is it's a tough place to be, man. I mean, what can you say? You're going up against a team. I think the thing about Young and Beautiful has been they've improved day on day, right? Yeah. This is not the same team that we saw yesterday. It's not the same team that we saw the day before, and they've improved tremendously in a short amount of time. And it's really starting to, I think, hammer home that they want to be at the top of the leaderboard at the end of this week.
I mean, if you told me this team had lost to the Ultimates yesterday and I hadn't seen this match, I'd be asking what sort of massive improvements the Ultimates have made, because they've been a strong team for a little while now, but taking down a team that's playing like this seems like a big ask for them. Anyway, moving on to the next round of Hollywood, it's now VASTA's turn to try and crack the egg of Young and Beautiful, put some footprints on the beautiful garden. Rocket takes a lot of flack on the way in, has to burn the shield, and we'll see the hack. Not quite complete there onto Rocket, but the pick comes through anyway. He's the first to fall in the fight. Young and Beautiful, they smell blood in the water and they surge their way forwards, wiping out what's left of VASTA.
Man, so bad for Rocket. Look at the alt charge difference between him and Lulzish at this point in time. Yeah, I'm gonna get the D-Mech on Happy Cool. I mean, it looks like Young and Beautiful may have overstayed their welcome, but Rocket has been significantly behind the Primal Rage, and he seems to drop first in every fight. I can't tell if that's just because the resources are being focused on him, or if something's going horribly wrong from his, gameplay.
Okay, certainly looking vastly more improved here for VASTA. As we see Yikids and $4, and it may have taken them an aborted run through the first time here, but unless Young and Beautiful can pull out another miracle retake here, they're unlikely to hold on to this.
They're doing it.
Coming over the top, they've got the tag in, and Skyripper has the coalescence that's going to keep Lawsish alive through that. Jonah finds a pick with the pulse bomb, and I should have called it the Whale-a-thon because there's that patented Young and Beautiful magic. They make it happen when it should not have been possible.
I find most impressive is that for some reason, every time you need one of these spectacular contests, all the cooldowns are just available. Jonah has recall, Yiggins has the translocator in the perfect position, the primal rage is available. It's kind of impressive how well they show up.
There's the hack. It's a nice one. Hits 4 hits Lulzish. Lulzish will go down. Dollar's able to survive through that and throw in the sound barrier to keep the rest of the team alive through that additional damage and the lack of cooldowns. It's a one-man advantage now for VASTA, and Skyripper is being juggled to within an inch of his life, and now an inch of his life on the other side of that particular metric. And I almost don't want to call it because they keep finding ways to bring this one back, but it's looking like VASTA might finally make this happen. But the self-destruct catches Kage. Nipperhawk still on the point, but it's now a man advantage for Young and Beautiful. And Jonah's able to tag back in with the pulse bomb, watches the defense matrix, but just mistimes it, and Nipperhawk gets the eat onto that one. And a valiant attempt from Dollar to tag back in, but there's the cap.
So this next fight is going to really be about the dueling EMPs. Maimon should actually get to it by the time this next fight truly starts, what with the staggered kills on the end of that fight. And if he can do that, then it's all about whether he can, get ahead of Yikids in the EMP execution. If that's the case, then, there is a chance to roll this one through. Obviously, no defensive ability available. Dala using the sound barrier in the last fight. Really coming down to Maimon on the EMP Sombra here, for sure, in this next engagement.
Looks like he's not ready to pull the plug on that one just yet. Will complete the hack, but the jump was there for Lulzish, and so he didn't really get the charge he wanted to generate that EMP. He will be coming on board with it just now. Self-destruct out, so that particular combo no longer available for them. Jonah finds the pick onto Kage here, and with the man disadvantage now for VASTA, they're not going to want to throw in their fight-winning ultimate just yet.
Again, going to be that staging for the EMP, but it's such a tough retake now. MVP has to dodge it. Not going to be there.
Yeah, EMP from Yikids doesn't catch MVP, but it means they've had to throw the sound barrier basically at spawn here. Has bought time for Maimon to get the EMP off of his own, and finally the capitalization comes through. It's a big W that's getting capitalized here for VASTA Gaming as they win out this team fight and look to move the card forward.
They use EMP and sound barrier at spawn to get it out, right? So that's a tough thing to have here. And now it's going to be 5 ultimates online on this next retake by Young and Beautiful, and it's going to some clutch play needs to come in from Rocket here with the Primal Rage to keep themselves alive through this engagement.
Well, Yaps is going to kick things off here with the Coalescence. Yikids is hacked and focused down by Maimon, but it's a man advantage now. Going the way of Young and Beautiful as MVP gets rocked out of it. Nipperhawk demeked by the pulse bomb of Jonah, and Young and Beautiful looking good for the retake here.
Yeah, that's going to be it, and the Primal Rage was not enough. And now, I mean, what are you looking for in this next fight? If you're a VASTA, it's again a hero play moment. Pulse bomb from Kage on a pickoff. You need the self-destruct as it generates to get 2, and that's your opening. But the deck is stacked in Young and Beautiful's favor right now. Look at their economy. It's all of them, and EMP to boot. And with Jonah getting that pickoff, this just stalls out even more time here. Young and Beautiful are looking in full control of this map.
It's probably the player you want to lose at least in that kind of staggered fight, because you need Maimon to get this EMP on board as quickly as possible. And that 10-15 seconds of downtime could be the difference in a fight that squeaks them over the line.
Yep. I mean, this EMP from Yikids is going to get, there's nothing to defend against it, right? There's no sound barrier, there's nothing. So you're hoping for the Sombra to just miss.
As the EMP will find 2, picks up Rocket and MVP. Lulzish has to throw in the Primal Rage to survive and uses it to great effect to get the pick onto Kage. Starts to juggle, has the ball in the air, drops it, chases it all the way back to spawn, now out of Primal Rage and out of dodge. chasing them right the way back to spawn, LaFon.
Yeah, this is going to have to be another reset. EMP available. I mean, Maimon has to come in a clutch again. He's got everyone there.
It's big. It hits 3. Finds the focus down, takes Lulsish out of the fight, but they lose Kargate as well. Sky Ripper now caught with the hack, not able to get out of harm's way, but Happy Cool finds the equalizer woman. Everyone's going to go down here again, and we're at 13 seconds on the clock here. Even if VASTA can retake the cart, the recontest is going to be coming through from Young and Beautiful. They are not going to make this easy for VASTA.
Maimon switches over to the Pharah, but we are in last fight. Overtime is in effect, and desperation setting in for VASTA.
Desperation on the side of MVP, throws in the sound barrier just to keep his team alive and healthy and in the fight to try and generate kills. Will drag that one out of Dollar as well, but Rocket is the first to fall here. They've lost their main tank. He's going to have to be coming back on the Wrecking Ball to get back in on time, but they lose one Maimon to Lulsish here as well. They're still on the car. They're still desperately trying to hang on, but now the remaining members of VASTA are hacked to within an inch of their life. They might just to secure the man advantage here, but the hack comes through onto MVP. Here's Rocket back. He's got the Primal Rage ready to go. He can keep his team alive in this that little bit longer, but they fall around him like dominoes. He's going to have to sit on this cart and try and ride it right the way through. We'll find the pick onto Lulsish, but they are not out of harm's way yet, LaFon.
Not at all. They do have VASTA being able to stay on the cart with the Primal Rage, self-destruct over the top. Good bubble.
Yeah, fantastic bubble. Keeps them all alive through this. VASTA are fighting. They're bleeding for every inch of progress here. They're finding their way through it. Well, Maimon's going to go down here, but Rocket with the Prime Rage is able to find the equalizer. But now they've got to fight through Lulsish minefield to keep himself on the cart. And the overtime wick is going to be ticking down so quickly here that they can't afford to tag off the point for even a second. Pulse Bomb comes through and secures the D-Mech back onto Nibberhog. There's the Pulse Bomb over the top. Everything being thrown at VASTA here. They didn't stand a chance. Young and Beautiful with the 3-0 despite everything VASTA threw at that last fight.
I want Young and Beautiful harried VASTA, their prey in all senses of the word, for every inch that was taken over time. It felt like there was no way for VASTA to get a true reset and take advantage of the overtime spawns, right? Because back in, Yikit's on the flank, so was Jonah, just harrying them. It really felt like a wolf pack hunting a deer at points there. You know, a wounded animal in the last moments of that map. And they take the 3-0 in clean and dominant fashion. Young and Beautiful here to stay for sure. And for VASTA, man, it's tough to say, but that was a brutally one-sided Hollywood from all sides.
But what can you really do in the face of a team that, we have said this before, a team that loses its tank lineup only to the very next day find a world-class tank duo to step in and fill that void? Like, you must have thought that was your ticket to, at the very least, staying in trials, to have Young and Beautiful hamstrung like that. It has to be so frustrating to be in that position. But we do, LaFon, have at least one more order of business before we throw to the end of the broadcast. We are going to have Dollar coming in from Young and Beautiful to talk us through his thoughts on that previous round. So, Dollar, congratulations on the win. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty nice. Well, fun game.
Good, glad to hear it. So, obviously, there's been a lot of focus on Young and Beautiful and the fact that you've picked up 3 new players in the past couple of days. How easy has it been to integrate your new tank players into the lineup?
I mean, at the start, we got Lucius and Huffy day before the trials game. So, I mean, obviously it was a little bit hard, but I think now we are getting or improving really fast. So it feels really good right now. But the start was a little bit hard.
It's really easy, I think, when a team has a new roster to kind of chalk up a lot of the missteps that come in due to being brand new, Overwatch being such a team game. That being said, with the improvement that you guys have had this quickly, is it fair to say that for Young and Beautiful, it's about making Contenders and then making it far into the later stages of Contenders?
Of course, goal is always to aim the highest. So at the moment, it's to get Contenders, and when we are if we get Contenders, it's obviously try to beat Breach Hurricane and be the best.
So on that subject, how do you currently feel about your odds of beating British Hurricane? It's been a long time since anybody beat them in an official.
I mean, they're a really good team, obviously, and I mean, they're undefeated for a reason, but I think if we can get some practice in, especially with these tanks, we have a really good lineup, and like Elbion said, maybe some competition coming, so who knows?
We referenced Albion at the top of the broadcast. Hard not to. I want to ask you now quickly before we let you go. This has been a very interesting time in Overwatch history. I think one of the weirdest metas we've seen shaping up. Do you think it's going to continue to evolve in more of a map-dependent style, or is it going to be sort of the Roadhog composition is going to take center stage, or is it going to be the dive that we've seen a lot, especially from you guys here today?
I think it's gonna be a combination of kind of dive and poke. I think Mercy is a really strong character at the moment, but it's kind of like, it's really hard to execute like properly. So I think like at the moment we're playing Lucio Moira dive is it's fairly good, and I think it's pretty easy to do as or like play with it as well. So that's the reason why we are playing it at now, like at the moment. We're kind of just one trick in the comp since we are in the team anyway.
Well, Dollar, thank you very much for joining us today. Before we let you go back to your team to celebrate, anybody you'd like to give a shout out to at the end of the broadcast?
I mean, the whole team played amazingly. I think Jonah especially popped off today. Really good calls, and Lucius as well, but everyone did good, so can't appoint single one.
Great. Well, Dollar, thank you again for joining us. Congratulations on the win. Looking forward to see how you do in tomorrow's match and how you proceed in Contenders. We'll be keeping our eyes glued to that one.
Yeah, thank you guys. Goodbye.
And for everybody else, thank you very much for joining us. But that is, I'm afraid, all that we've got time for myself and LaFon. But don't worry, we will be back tomorrow with more. In fact, the final day of the September season of Contenders Trials. So I hope you'll join us for that one there. LaFon, before we throw to the end of the broadcast, anything you'd like to say?
Well, two things. One, there's this small little tournament you may have heard of, the Overwatch League playoffs. I don't know, it's a little thing there. I mean, tune into that because that's going to be spectacular. But we've also got the other broadcast still running, I believe, for Contenders Trials Europe. That is still going on. So make sure to head in to both. You don't want to miss any of the future games there. Some of the best talent on display here for you today. But for me, that's all I've got. Phil, it's been a pleasure. And can't wait to see what we've got.
It's always a pleasure. Good night, everybody.